Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. Today's going to be the first of a few episodes where I'm looking at or talking about the DC's New Age of Heroes books. And in the interest of trying to do more episodes that are shorter so I can get more of them out instead of what I normally do, which is record like 2.5 hours worth of stuff, and it takes me a week to edit it and get it out. So I'm hoping to have more frequent episodes by doing these shorter ones. So instead of focusing on 3 or more books as I normally do for an episode, such as this, where I would look at a bunch of new number ones, I'm going to try and do just one and see where it goes. And hopefully you guys like this. Let me know if you don't. You can always do that by contacting me on Twitter or sending me an email at longboxreview@gmail.com. And so today, the first book, because it's the first one I read, is Damage. Part of, like I said, the New Age of Heroes, and Damage is the first one that I got and the first one that I read, so I'm going to talk about that today. So this is coming out of the DC event Dark Knight's Metal, and I'll talk about my thoughts on that in a minute. I mean, it says that right on the corner DC logo stuff, so I guess I missed that part. I didn't realize that some of these things were coming out of the metal. It makes more sense for another one that I read sideways. I'll talk about that in the next episode on this New Age of Heroes look. And but on Damage here, I guess I didn't realize that was part of it. So that's an interesting aspect. Potentially interesting. I don't know how interesting it will be, but as the issues go on, I mean. So let's see here. Damage is by Tony Daniel, Robert Venditti, Danny Miki, Tomu Moray, and Tom Napolitano. Those are the fine folks working on this book. And I'll just start here just real quick with the cover. First of all, people at DC, whose bright idea was it to do these fold-out, cut-out cover things? Because what a pain in the ass. Please don't do stuff like that. I really don't like that. I don't know. Maybe you guys like that stuff. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with these. I understand it's supposed to I think it's supposed to make like a poster, but what the hell are you going to do with it? You actually going to take the covers off of these comics and do something? I don't know. I think it's a dumb concept. Although we do get additional cover art, I guess, but I don't know. I think it's kind of silly. So, like I said, with the cover here, so Damage. So this is actually an old DC property concept, but a totally new take on it. Well, sort of, because this is essentially Damage is a destructive force. Only it's taken the form of this soldier, Ethan, in the book, instead of the old teenage Damage character. So, I guess trying to keep those old concepts alive by doing these new takes on them, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. I have no real connection to the old Damage character. I read him in some Titans books that I have in my collection, but I didn't. It's not a favorite character, so I don't care really that they reimagined the Damage character as this other thing. But what's interesting is that DC, with this New Age of Heroes, seems to be trying to outdo Marvel, I guess, because it's obvious the parallels here in this book to the Incredible Hulk, and I'll talk a little bit about that, I guess, a little bit later. And some of their other books are doing the same thing, right? So, and I'll talk about those for those particular books. But this is DC's take on the Hulk, I guess. So much to the point that we have this gray-skinned, ultra-muscled, invulnerable, ragey, destructive character. And you can see this on the cover, with interestingly enough, the American flag, a tattered American flag in the background with military copters flying around, and Damage is landing very forcefully, breaking up the ground, and rocks and dust and dirt are flying everywhere. It's very dramatic, a cover by Tony Daniel. And, and I like Tony Daniel's art. I really do. But what I generally don't like is a lot of splash pages in a comic, a lot of large panels taking up the page, because I feel, which we get a lot in here. I mean, it's a great way to showcase Tony Daniel's art, but I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth to some degree. But as I said, I like Tony Daniel's art, so that makes it okay for me, at least for this first issue. If we get a lot of this, if the first issue is indicative of what's to come in the series, and I've at least signed up for the first 3 issues on this, so we'll see how it goes. But if that's what we get every issue, I mean, come on, you gotta switch it up a bit. Let's have a little bit of storytelling in here, as well as a bunch of really cool, what are essentially small poster images, right? So anyway, all right. So let's dive into the issue a little bit. So it opens up with Damage being unleashed, and the first words are "Let loose, Ethan." So it's the yellow text in this black dialogue bubble, and Ethan's yelling out, "I don't want to be this," and that's when Damage is unleashed, and we see this counter at the bottom of the page for 1 hour, and the next couple pages are big splash page of Damage jumping out of a military plane, growling and yelling, screaming, and then really the next several pages is just Damage unleashed in, don't remember which city it is, but he has a fight with another of the occupants of the military plane, Major Liggett, who gets in this battle suit and tries to take down Damage, all the while throwing shade on poor Damage and / Ethan, saying it should have been me, not you. I mean, there's a lot of really cool, like I say, splash images of Damage through here, but too many. I mean, really, it's like splash after 2-page splash after 2-page splash, or at least something very close to that. It's not every 2 pages, but pretty close. And then the fight stops. We get about a little more than halfway through the book, and then there's another voice that's talking to Damage. This is different, though. It's a different word balloon configuration, so it's a different character. So who was the other character then at the very beginning of this in with the black bubbles? It's not clear what's going on there. I don't have to know exactly. It's the first issue, but whereas that first voice is telling Ethan and Damage to let loose and just go, this other voice, which we find out is Ethan, is telling his alter ego, telling Damage to stop. Let me help you. We don't have to be like this. So imagine if Bruce Banner's voice is in the Hulk's head, which I'm sure they did. Full disclosure, I didn't read a lot of Hulk comics. Hulk is not a character I really care about. I think I've said this before on the show or somewhere that Hulk to me should not be. I'm gonna maybe get some hate for this, but I don't think Hulk should be a major character in the Marvel universe. I think he's really a second tier character. He's a good character to bring in as a guest star in somebody else's book. So in other words, I haven't read a lot of Hulk and I don't really care about the character. So maybe that situation, Banner talking to Hulk, is something that's happened in the comics. I just don't know. If not, then this is interesting. What's going on with Damage here? But I'm sure it's probably derivative. So anyway, like I say, the clock is running down. Ethan is trying to talk Damage down, and so Damage then goes and hides. And it's interesting because the clock, at that point, the clock says it's been 5 minutes. Not even 5 full minutes. It's been 4.5 minutes. And then he goes and hides. So then the scene shifts and we get this scene, which actually is a really cool 2 pages where we get some overlay panels of this copter coming in, and we get introduced to Colonel Jonas, who is in charge of Damage, I guess. But then you got this nice scene. I mean, it's a scene of destruction where they're coming to the military plane that went down. But just the way that the artists did this, I think, just looks really cool. Anyway, so Jonas is talking with one of her lieutenants, and turns out that, like I said, Jonas seems to be in charge of Damage. She says, in fact, we had an understanding, Ethan. You go where I say, kill who I say, do the damage. So none of my soldiers have to bleed. And then there's this weird couple panels where, I don't know, it looks like she cuts her hand on something, and then she squeezes it and the blood starts coming out. Now we're all going to bleed. A little too on the nose, guys, I think. Okay? We didn't need the words with the picture. Anyway. And so the issue ends with the reveal of Amanda Waller, the Wall, with her Suicide Squad coming to, I guess, take down Damage. Dun, dun, dun. So that's pretty much it. Although I don't, now that I'm looking at that, again, another splash page of the Suicide Squad, I don't read that book. So I find it interesting that the Parasite and Solomon Grundy are now part of the team. I think, is that Giganta in the background? And I don't know who the red hooded guy is on the right of this. And of course there's Harley Quinn and Deadshot. So, yeah, that's pretty much the issue. So back to the inner voices, the Ethan's and the other one. You know, when I first read this, I found that having the 2 inner voices as a narrative device being used in the same exact way. I mean, not exactly the exact way, you know, because they are shown differently, so they're obviously different voices. But essentially, it's just a voice in the guy's head. But I thought that was a tad confusing at first, because when I first read the comic, I was like, is this the same voice? No, it couldn't be the same voice, or different. But, you know, but I had that thought in my head, and I shouldn't have that thought. It should be very clear. Maybe that's just my problem. No, it's not. Maybe it is my problem, but introducing that first voice, like I said, on the first page, and then coming to this other one just was an odd stylistic choice, I guess. Some other thoughts about this. Major Liggett, of course, is just a major dick. So at the point in the battle where Damage has the upper hand, Liggett is begging him, Ethan. He talks to Ethan. He calls him by name. He doesn't refer to him as Damage. Begs Ethan not to kill him, but then when Ethan does get Damage to not kill the guy, then criticizes him. You know, tells him that he's weak, that he wasn't able to finish the task. And so that, you know, speaking of Incredible Hulk parallels, that had me thinking, well, is Major Liggett going to be the Jack McGee of this series? And if you are unfamiliar with Jack McGee, go look up Jack McGee in relation to the Incredible Hulk 1970s TV series. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. So other things, for having nearly an hour to hide. Like I said, it's been less than 5 minutes. Damage doesn't seem to travel very far, because the very last page, another splash page, is Ethan now transformed back to his human self. and saying we don't have to be their monster, and which is weird because back to the dialogue boxes there, or the style there, I know they're just going for the fact that he's out of it and he's weak. Maybe he's hurt. I don't know. But the way it's presented is similar in construction to the black filled word balloons in the beginning of the issue. So it's this weird, but they're not black. They're white. It's Ethan's voice. He's actually talking to himself, or to Damage, actually. But it's, again, weird. I'm not sure why I assume the letterer did this. I'm not sure why they decided to do this. But anyway, there it is. But my point was, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Damage doesn't seem to go very far to hide. But that could just be a jump here that is not necessary to be explicit on the page. But it just seemed weird to me that he's supposed to hide and the military's looking for him. And so the timing of it seems like within 5 minutes, Damage is essentially going to sleep, and then the hour's up, and then he transforms back to Ethan. So I would think that the military would have an easy time finding him based on how the people in the city, they saw him. He was causing a swath of destruction through the city. So I don't know. Not a strong construction narratively for this for me, but maybe I'm just picking on some what are really minor details here. So like I said, I mentioned before the deal that Ethan has with Colonel Jonas. So, what I do want to know about that, why would someone volunteer to take on this responsibility, this terrible, awesome responsibility? And more importantly, why does he seem to be breaking that deal? Colonel Jonas mentioned something about a Madoran mission that didn't go well. And that's why, Ethan was in the military plane, because he was going to go to, they called it something. I don't remember what it is. The Burrow. Yeah. Jonas and Liggett both refer to the Burrow a couple times in here. So yeah. And is, again, parallels. Is Colonel Jonas kind of like the Thunderbolt Ross of the series? Like I said, the Suicide Squad shows up at the end. And normally I like when other characters show up in other titles. But for some reason, having Waller and the Suicide Squad show up at the end just bugged me. Mostly because I think I'm going to get some feedback on this maybe too. I don't like Amanda Waller. I like her in really small doses, and I mostly like her when she's going up against Batman and giving him the what for. But other than that, she just, I don't know, the way that Waller has been portrayed recently in DC Comics that I've read. I haven't read Suicide Squad since the New 52 launch, so I don't know what it's about now. But she just annoys me. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, I guess. So, like I said, there are obvious parallels here. DC seems to be trying to do Marvel here. So is this better than the Hulk? Well, like I said, I don't like the Hulk, so it's a low bar for me here. But I do the idea of the 1 hour transformation with a 12-hour cooling off time. So Damage is only active for an hour, and then 12 hours later he can become active again, which is an interesting time restriction. But I wonder if that could be a hindrance from a storytelling standpoint, because we're always counting down to something. And while that may be good for a short term plot device, over the long term, I would think that the writer or the creators and the readers might get, tired of it. Also on the could get real old quick too. is Ethan's Jiminy Cricket to Damage's Pinocchio. The constant Damage, you don't have to do this. You can be better than this, Damage. I don't know. I hope they mix it up a bit, do something with it other than basically that. So we'll see how that goes as well. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about Damage's look. So it's he's like I said, he's kind of like the gray skinned version of the Hulk. He's big, hulking, massive muscles and stuff. His face kind of looks like a skull-like. He has no nose, but he's got the holes there where you would see on a skull. And then he's got his arms, his shoulders, and it looks like his back, or at least a part of his back, is covered in this scaly armor-looking type stuff. But his chest and belly is exposed. Now, I get that with, like, if you're going for like an animal type look, because like think of an armadillo, right? So the outside is armored, but the underbelly isn't, right? So that's a common thing for creatures that have scales on their skin. So if that's what they're going for, I guess that makes sense. But if this is that's what I don't know. Is this design? Is this a design? Is this a military design? Or is this the military taking advantage of a soldier who was transformed in some way by the Dark Knight's Metal event? I tend to think not, because Ethan at the very beginning says, I don't want to be this, which seems to imply that this was done to him either by accident or by design. And so if Damage's look is by specific design, then why would you not armor his front too? That's just a huge oversight that I see. But anyway, and then there's these odd red ovals all over his chest. So I'm not sure what those do, but at least they provide a little bit of color contrast, because, like I said, he's gray skinned. His armor looks dark gray or black, and that's about it. There's not much going on color-wise here for the character, which I thought was kind of weird. I mean, he's a destructive force like the Hulk. So, he's not going to wear a costume. He's not going to wear a uniform, although he wears the tatters of one. So he's just like the Hulk. He wears tattered, torn up pants. So he's got that similarity as well. So is this better than the Hulk? I don't know yet. It's first issue. My thought is probably not, but that's not really a fair comparison considering how many years the Hulk has been around compared to this character, which has only been around for one issue. So, but is DC's version of Hulk better than Hulk? I don't know. Really depends on where the story goes. Like I say, I hope that the artists, Daniels especially, changes up his page layouts over time to make this a visually interesting read for me. So that I don't feel like I'm getting less for my money, no matter how pretty I think the art is. I find it really interesting that Robert Venditti is coupled with Daniel. Because I really like Venditti's work. He does a good job. And what I'm seeing here on the page, or at least the words on the page, I'm not seeing what I have seen with Venditti's other work. So it appears like, I don't know. What I wonder is what would this be like if Daniel was on his own? And I tend to think that maybe it wouldn't be as good as it is, but and that's not. And I'm not really trying to slight Daniel. It's just that what I see here, and given what I know of Venditti's work, those things aren't connecting for me. So we'll see how it goes. Really, I thought that the whole issue, I don't know how many pages it is. I'm assuming 20, because that's what DC's books seem to be, especially the $2.99 books. It just feels like this entire issue is like the first 6 pages of a better constructed book. If we didn't have to have so many splash pages and so many large images in here, maybe we would have had this story what was in this first issue within the first 6 or 8 pages or so, and had a little bit more to go on, a little bit more development, a little bit more background to latch onto. Okay, so when I went to record this episode, I put a tweet out there asking if anybody had any comments or questions about these books that I'm going to talk about. So I appreciate everyone sending their comments in, and I might touch on these in later episodes as well. So from John on Twitter, jpooch21, says, does it make sense that they launched the initiative with the new characters like Damage, Silencer, and Sideways instead of established characters in the Terrifics or concepts in Challengers? And which I thought that's a great question. As I replied to John, my sense was I thought they were all supposed to come out at the same time, but there have been delays. So, and probably because, as John points out, because of the Dark Knight's Metal delay, shifted some things, perhaps. And maybe, so yeah, John says the new characters, such as Damage, aren't as dependent on the end of Metal like some of the other ones who have characters playing big roles in that book, like the Terrifics because of Plastic Man, perhaps. It's a lot of P's. I hope my plosives aren't killing you right now. So yeah, so does it make sense? I think John's point is a good one. I think that they should have, if things worked out from the schedule, the Terrifics would have been an excellent launching point, the flagship title of this new initiative. But we didn't get that. We got Damage first, and then the other ones. So we'll see. I'm not sure what the answer is to that exactly yet. Time will tell, as do all things. So George, from the George and Tony Entertainment Show, asks, what interested you in trying these books in the first place? That's an easy one. They're new DC comics, so I'll try them. I'm always on the lookout for new and interesting characters or new takes on old concepts, and especially if the creators involved, I like them. I want to support their work as well. And that was the case with Damage. Like I said, I like Tony Daniel's art. I like Venditti's writing, but it was mostly the Daniel art that drew me to this. Because honestly, I don't see myself sticking around for this one because it's not a character concept that I care for. Like I say, I don't like the Hulk all that much. So, and this is basically that so far. So anyway. So like I said, I try to support these creators, and maybe I'll find something cool and new that I really, really like. It doesn't happen very often, but there you go. I got a message from Peter here, Peter Rios, my co-host on the Legion Project. He says, when publishers launch grouped titles like this, they have to know some will stick and others won't. Even with the first issue, do you see potential for longevity? Will they eventually turn into background characters you only see in event books or something in the middle? Yeah, that's a great question, Peter. Do I see longevity in Damage? No, I don't. I really don't. I was going to hazard a guess for how long, but I have no idea how long this will go. I don't know what the sales were for this first issue, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is what the sales are for the issues coming after that. But no, I don't see longevity for Damage. I'm gonna answer this question for the other titles that I'll be talking about too, because that's a good one. So yeah, I think Damage will be. He'll end up being a background character, only seen in event books. So, but. I'm probably wrong, right? I'm often wrong when it comes to these kind of guesses. I should never hazard these kinds of guesses, but they're fun to do. Anyway, so those are all the questions I have so far. If I get other ones as time goes on, I'll revisit those things or at least talk about them, maybe in relation to past books in future episodes such as this. So the next episode I will do on the new Age of Heroes from DC is going to be Sideways. So please come back for that discussion and more answers to questions. And if you have any comments or questions for me about what I said about Damage #1, please let me know. You can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. As I said at the top of the show, you can also message me on Twitter and go to the contact/feedback page at longboxreview.com for other ways to get a hold of me, including a voicemail whose number I never remember. So I'm not even going to hazard a guess what it is. But please visit the website and you can leave comments there as well. All right, that's it for Damage #1. Come back for Sideways #1, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.